Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say.
The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
When we have organizations as reputable as the UN do this, it discourages the minute percentage of people who want to do right.
Is he aware that you're paying for electricity from your 30,000 naira minimum wage?
400 billion procurement, they will bring your own share to Ndokwa. Some contractors have made money. At the same time, Ndokwa people will still die.
They will expire before they get to
diseases.
It's so painful.
It's exasperating, you know, outrightly frustrating.
When they actually come, look you in the face and say, we are not aware.
The worst part of it is that you have Nigerians who say they support the president, who are suffering from partisan obscurantism. They are completely blind. They do not know what to do.
Obscurantism. Before we break. Oscurantically.
Good morning once again. Welcome to The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. We always kick off with going through the major stories making headlines across the country this morning. And today we're starting with the Nigerian Tribune. But before that, good morning to our guest who's joining us online, Mr. Jide Johnson, a senior lecturer at the Nigerian University of Journalism. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Breakfast is ready. Let's start.
Yes, it is. Let's go. All right, so we're starting with the Nigerian Tribune this morning. The big one you can see there, of course, is on banditry. Governors agree to end open grazing. Lateef Jakonde dies at 91 for burial today. Also, cryptocurrency. Senate summons CBN Governor, SEC DG. Buhari offers automatic employment and scholarship to 110 ex-corps members. No protest tomorrow. Federal government, Lagos government, police warn Occupy Lekki proponents. And also, I'm not sure if they're going to give a specific date when there can be a protest. So, well, 101-year-old woman survives COVID-19 at the OAU-THC. And these are the big ones. Of course, we're talking of climate change also as a follow-up to the open grazing story. It says climate change forcing herdsmen into Nigeria. Migration down south, says Ganduje. Autumn writes, Buhari says push for justice and equity, not a fight against Fulani. 4,000 headers from south have arrived in Kaduna, Sema is saying. An invasion of my home by headers. Police lied, Wale Soyinka says. And the last one, of course, insecurity. We are completely unsafe. And that is from Afenifere. All right, Mr. Jide Johnson, there's so many of them. Pretty interesting. The cryptocurrency, the Senate summoning the CBN governor and Security and Exchange Commission DG. That's an interesting one. And, of course, the story on the protesting, government saying no protest tomorrow. Will there be one approved for next week then? Please go ahead.
Well, I would like to start by paying condolences to the family of the former governor of Lagos State and janitor of Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and someone that I believe has done much more for Nigerian journalism than he has ever been celebrated. That's Alhaji Lateef Jakonde, who was instrumental to the establishment of Nigerian Institute of Journalism in partnership with International Press Institute in Geneva. I think that God will grant the family fortitude to bear the loss. And the legacy he left behind will be a challenge for those that are priding themselves as leaders and in public sphere today, that the big shoe he left behind, even in his lifetime, they've not been able to fill that big shoe. Most of us in our generation If not for Alaji Latif, they wouldn't have gone to secondary school. Talk alone of going to the university. He's so resting in perfect peace, celebrating without knowing. And that's for Alaji. On the issue of banditry, that governors agreed to end open grazing. We saw what led to Boko Haram in the northeast, what has bedeviled the northwest, with banditry, killing and kidnapping as a result of cattle rustling and the rest of it. And we are seeing how it has moved to the north central, and we see how it has moved to the southwest and the southeast. How do governors sleep at night? And then how do they justify the security votes they collect on monthly basis that can never be investigated, that can never be audited? How do they justify that? Must it get to the point that people will lose their lives and property before they come to the realization of saying that, okay, we are going to ban open grazing? I think the governor should wake up to their responsibility and to the oath of office which they swore. Now, to the CPN being summoned by the Senate, some of us have advocated that what would be good for democracy is for the party that controls the executive not to control the legislature. The last legislative assembly, even though it was from the same party, but from the different caucus, we saw a different approach in terms of the executive and legislative interaction and relationship. We saw a more robust, engaging, rather than this rubber stamp National Assembly that we have as the ninth National Assembly. I'm looking forward to when the newly appointed ambassador, the security chiefs, that refuse to appear before the Senate, whether they will appear before the Senate for their confirmation. I'm waiting for the Senate to confirm them. Then he will tell you the scorecard of this particular Senate. How will Central Bank quickly come up with a policy that could destroy the economy, a policy that could destroy lives, without first going through committee and without first briefing the legislature? These are the policy you want to do. Just wake up in the morning, you appear before the pages of this paper, or you call a press conference, or you issue a press statement, you disrupt the entire economy. Hopefully, we get something positive out of it. But when they get to the Senate, I can assure you that there's nothing we are not going to see anything out of it. What have we seen concerning the probe in NTC? What have we seen concerning the issue of minimum wage? Different probes that have been undertaken by this present night assembly. What have we achieved concerning that? The last time, on the PIP, the public hearing they call on petroleum industrial bill, people are beating themselves for most communities. What will be the achievement of Femi Gbajabiamila and Senator Ahmed Lawan at the end of this night National Assembly? We are waiting to see what they achieve concerning that.
All right.
Okay, let's now turn to the Punch newspaper this morning. The story here says Lekki Toll Gate. FG Lagos police talk tough as organizers vow protest will hold. Organizers say, we won't allow Lekki Toll Gate reopening. It's blood money. On the other hand, Lagos says we will not allow states to be pushed by carnage edge again. We lack power to audit NNPC, CBN and others, and that's the Auditor General of the Federation. Senate summons Emefiele, Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, over cryptocurrency ban. Bauchi Governor lambasts Southern colleagues. Autumn says herders AK-47 for defense. NIN mandatory for bank accounts, voter registration, FG. This one here says, herdsmen invaded my property. Shoyinka replies, police. Oyo plans converting Lautech to conversional university. Police probe Igongon farmer's death, say diseased, not shot. Buhari, Obasanjo, governors, others mourn as Jokande dies at 91. Pastor, age 72, arrested for defiling 13-year-old girl. Self-styled lawyer impregnates teenager. Schools, hospitals shot as herdsmen attack Ogun communities, Q2. Mr. Didi Johnson, so many interesting stories here on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
Let's start with the one that is Punch. FG Lagos police talked of vow know that people will not protest. Protest is a fundamental part of democracy. Vandalism and destruction of property is a criminal act. Now, it is my right in a democratic society to protest if I feel like protesting, as long as my protest does not infringe on other people's rights and whatever. And then you see how quickly the police, the states, and the federal government respond to issue that is good for building democratic society. Majority will always have their way, but the minority must have their say. That's the beauty of democracy. They quickly jump at preventing people from giving expressions to their alternative views in the society, on reacting to protecting the lives and properties of Nigerians. I hope the police, the federal government will talk tough and react swiftly, like they have reacted with the issue of the protest plan for tomorrow. The way they have reacted to issue of men and farmers, the issue of
it seems we're having a bit of an issue with his line, but I think what he was trying to say is that he senses a bit of bias in the way the government responds to issues, how they've been slow and dragging their feet when it comes to the farmers' headers clash, and how swiftly it seems they've responded to this protest against the reopening of the Lekki Toll Gate. Well, once we can get back Mr. Jide Johnson would get more of his thoughts on that.
People might also argue that the government hasn't necessarily been dragging their feet with the headers crisis. Yes, they could have done better. And their body language always looks very, very, offbeat with regards, with their approach towards headers. Sometimes it seems like they're giving excuses for the headsmen and for the, bandits. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, once, there's someone who decides, I want to peacefully protest, they immediately bring out the hammer. So the body language just seems entirely off.
Yes, we have Jide Johnson back on air now. Thank you very much for still being here. Would you like to shed more light on your thoughts on another issue? There's this one here says police, I beg your pardon, pastor, 72.
Let's take the issue of a Nobel laureate. Nigeria should be very careful because what type of image will he give to this nation if something untoward happens to Professor Wale Soyinka? Now, he said, headsmen invaded my home. Police said, no, headsmen did not invade your home. Now, the police that is swift to prepare to forestall any protest are not swift in protecting the lives and property of an average Nigerian. It's sad. It's sad. These people swore an oath of office to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria, number one. Number
Or back on that network issue. Let's try and see if we can get him on a phone call maybe. And back to this issue. There's this one that really caught my attention on the Punch. It says 72-year-old pastor arrested for defiling a 13-year-old girl, and a self-styled lawyer impregnates a teenager. I saw the picture of this pastor, so to speak, yesterday, and it was very sad. And it's just so worrisome how much respect also we've put, or trust, so to speak, we've put on some of these pastors. Because when you listen to stories of young girls talking about how they were raped by a pastor, you find out that it's the belief of the parents that something spiritually wrong, or there's something wrong spiritually with your child, and they need some deliverance, some spiritual intervention, and you hand over your child, your teenager, to an old man, a pastor, in his house for deliverance sessions. It doesn't make sense.
It really just is a reminder that, the society that we live in, nobody can be truly trusted, 100%. And that includes pastors, it includes uncles and aunties, it includes house helps and neighbors. Nobody should have that level of trust, that you can leave your child in their care entirely that way. And also a reminder to us that the law doesn't pick and choose whether you're a pastor or you are a lecturer or you are a bus conductor. It should be, the same laws that, that cover everybody, and the same, justice system, basically, that, covers everyone. And so if a pastor, regardless of what church he leads, is accused of rape or accused of sexual assault, he should be made to face, the full wrath of the law. Julia Johnson, welcome back. Apologies, the network doesn't seem to be on our side this morning. Can you go on with your thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of the reality of our time. On the issue of 2 days ago, I was taking a stroll within my neighborhood, and I saw a cleric teaching girls, young girls. They all sat on the mat, and I told my friend, and I said, and it was getting late in the night, and I said, why would a parent send his or her child to go and learn about religious stuff at this hour of the day with a male guy, and the young girls were squatting and kneeling in front of the cleric, and he was teaching them? I said, what kind of picture would be playing on in the mind of this cleric? I said, this is danger. Like you said, while I was off the network, that it's the parents that unknowingly, out of sheer religious stupidity, that turns their children to be prey, because they send them for deliverance, they send them to go and learn something about religion and stuff like that, and they expose their children little by little to danger, and these children cannot report to their parents because this cleric impose themselves as an authority figure in the position of God that cannot be questioned. The parents shiver before this cleric. So when the children see the parents shiver before this cleric, they worship this cleric, how would the children too react, or will be able to tell their parents what they are going through? I think we need a complete reorientation when it comes to the issue of religion and exposing our children to all of these menace of predators parading themselves as religious clerics.
All right, with the short time that we have left, I want you to, of course, let's go to the Daily Independent this morning. The big one, you can see there says, hashtag Occupy Lekki Tollgate. Federal government vows to stop planned protest. Would resist NSAS protesters. Lagos government and CP are saying, next time cattle invade my place, police will be invited to join Suya feast. That is from Wale Soyinka. All right, prayers alone won't solve Nigeria's problems, clerics are saying. And also Nigeria, Dubai impasse intensifies as UAE bans all flights. Senate summoned CBN Governor, DG SEC over cryptocurrency directive. Buhari, Lawan, Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, Fayemi and others mourn Lateef Jakonde. And also, once again, Sunday Igboho, headsmen storm Ogun community in reprisal. Kill 2, 4 missing. Mr. Julia Johnson, we have just a few minutes left. I want you to quickly respond to this question. Do you think the federal government and the Lagos State government, is okay to say that the violence that occurred in the last protest, is enough reason for protests to, of course, be stopped, because they don't think that they want a repeat of that, and the damage was just too much, and of course it's best to be safe.
Then the government should provide security for those that want to peacefully protest. Government should provide security for those that want to peacefully protest and should arrest those that want to cause mayhem. You agree with me that those that caused the mayhem were not those that actually went to Lekki to protest. And you also agree with me that we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder, in the sense that there is youth restiveness, there is unemployment, life has become hard and untold for many Nigerians. So a lot of people have a lot of pent-up emotions. And don't also forget that we are coming out of a lockdown that kept a lot of people at home without any form of palliative from government, and the palliatives that even the government have were kept in warehouses by politicians and their cronies, and were not given to the people that actually need it. So tying the protests to the vandalism that bedeviled the NSAS protest is reductionism. Is what has there been any prosecution? I'm asking you. Has there been one person prosecuted and sent to jail for vandalism? There were places there was CCTV. We saw a situation whereby people in Alausa were scattered. They were peacefully protesting in Alausa, were scattered by thugs. They were running the trans-skelter. We have images of people holding knives. Have they been arrested? Government should not be paying lip service. You see, look, if we don't address issues, once issues are not attended to over time, it turns to a crisis. And we are sitting on a debt of gunpowder. Whether government likes it or not, let them be paying lip service to it. We need to address the issue of unemployment. We need to address the issue of equity. We need to address the issue of justice. We need to assess the issue of access to opportunities for all within the nation. And if we don't address this issue, an economic hardship is biting the people hard, and the gap between the haves and the have-nots is becoming widening by the day. And for you to make a leeway, is either you are a politician, or you are a crony of a politician, or you are associated to one political factor. I can assure you that we are just postponing the evil day when it comes to dealing with this issue. Let people that want to protest. Provide them with security. Arrest hoodlums. Prosecute them. Send them to jail. Yesterday, Obalende was on fire as a result of activities of a government within a government. I've never seen anywhere in the world where you have an institution like the National Union of Road Transport Workers will be collecting tolls, will be collecting rates. They are a government within a government, and government has not dealt with that. And they are saying that it is people that protested that caused mayhem. We knew what caused mayhem. Whose business is threatened by BRT? Me, that drives my private car, or you that drives a private car, or those that enter, or those that enter Uber. Whose business is threatened by BRT buses? They said BRT. Who are those that have issues with Federal Road Safety Corps? Who have issues with VIU, Vehicle Inspection Officers? Who are those? Those are the offices that were set in place. Those are the businesses that were destroyed. Forget, that's the starting point. When riots, when protests are not controlled, there's no doubt that vandalism will fall out of it, because security agents do not do what they are supposed to do. So they should not reduce the vandalism, destruction of lives and property that happened after the shooting in Lekki to the protest in Lekki. That's reductionism. People that have failed to do their responsibility should understand that in civilized climate, they will have resigned today. Thank you.
It's an ongoing conversation.
And have a wonderful weekend.
You too, sir. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Always interested speaking with you.
Yeah.
All right. The conversation continues, definitely. Tomorrow, we will, of course, we'll be following up and seeing what or how that turns out. I'm on duty tomorrow, so I'm definitely going to be driving through that toll gate. Hopefully, it's still going to be open for usage. And, of course, if protesters are there, we will definitely bring you live footage from there and let you know how it is going. For now, we'll take a short break. When we come back, today in history, what happened in 1909? It's something about the NAACP. We'll be back.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, oh. Now so that they talk, you are going to Libya, which America?
As it then do mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Welcome back, and it's time for Today in History here on The Breakfast. We're starting with the events from 1909 on the 12th of February. It is something called the NAACP, an organization that was set up on this day And it's a civil rights organization in the United States that was formed to advance justice for African Americans by, of course, about 4 or 5 people: W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary White Ovington, Moorfield Story, and I.D.A. B. Wells. It really was started, as a result of many years of racial injustice, and of course the race riot in Springfield, Illinois in 1908. That really was a catalyst for the foundation of the NAACP. The rate of lynching of blacks at that time also was one of the major catalysts that started the formation really of the NAACP. The purpose really was to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons, and to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. Once again, it started 12th of February 1909, which was apparently marking the birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, who emancipated black slaves. Prior to the NAACP, there was something called the National Negro Committee, which was also in existence and of course played its own role to protect blacks and to help with the same advancement of colored people. Like I said earlier, the race riot in 1908 in Springfield, Illinois was one of the catalysts, and these names that I had mentioned earlier sent out solicitations to 60 prominent Americans to support the idea of the NAACP. It eventually was started. It won a major legal victory in 1915 when the Supreme Court declared an Oklahoma grandfather clause. The NAACP also helped organize the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, at which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech. That was a lot later, in the, I think in 1967, I believe. So yes, it was on this day that that organization was founded, and they've been through a lot. They've also been criticized a few times for their actions and for their stands, every now and then. But they've played a very major role in promoting racial justice and equality for African Americans in the U.S.
Okay, and the next here is in 1993. February 12th. What happened this day in history was that a 2-year-old boy named James Burglar was abducted from a shopping center by 2 boys who were aged 10 years old, and they tortured and murdered him. When detectives worked on this case, they said that they would never be able to actually put together the ages of these boys who abducted, tortured, and murdered the 2-year-old boy with what they actually did, because it was so violent. Now, these boys were playing trance from school, which they regularly did. Then their names were Thompson and Venables. They were seen stealing various items at the shopping center, and then they kidnapped this boy. They mutilated his body, and he was found on a railway line in Liverpool 2 days after his abduction. They were eventually charged on the 20th of February 1993 with the murder and abduction of this 2-year-old James Burglar. Police actually suspected that there was a sexual element to the crime. That was because Burglar's shoes, his trouser, and his underpants had been removed. But eventually, the boys were arrested, and the parents of the accused were moved to different parts of the country, and they assumed different identities after death threats from vigilantes. Well, in the year 2010, Venables was sent to prison for breaching the terms of his license and was released on parole again in the year 2013. In November of 2017, he was again sent to prison for possessing child abuse images on his computer. And eventually there was a book written about the death of James Burglar. He titled it On Evil, and the book was published in the year 2010.
People are sick.
So sad. So sad.
People
Lots of the
really
stories.
Sick.
Lots of the stories.
We have similar occurrences here in Nigeria. It's just, maybe for different reasons. Once every now and then you might hear of a very terrible story of the death of a kid or a child. I remember, late 90s, maybe sometime in the 90s, was really popular because, then it was mostly of ritual killings and some stuff like that. I don't think we hear a lot, in that direction anymore, but from what you've just shared, it's just really maybe just mental illness.
Really sad. There was really no explanation for this. We have no idea why those boys did that to this 2-year-old boy, and it's just really, really sad. Anyway, that's all we have for you today in history on The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Do stay with us, and we'll be going straight into our first topic of discussion after the break.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The special anti-robbery squad who are now killing innocent citizens instead of dealing with robbers. Your axe will catch up with you. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and we have in the studio Adetola Salau, the senior special, advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Education, and we'll basically be speaking about projects the Lagos State government is doing to promote science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and arts. That's the spin they've put on it, and they've called it the STEAM Up projects. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, first of all, yesterday was the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, Engineering, Tech, and Mathematics, STEM. Did the Lagos State government, do anything about this? How was this celebrated, especially for girls?
I actually went on a mini tour to some schools in Yaba, and I spoke to girls about the importance of them celebrating and understanding their relevance in science and engineering. I encouraged them that women have really traversed a lot of adversity and yet have become inventors. And I listed out the inventors who have come out from really dire circumstances and became people. And I became really great people and also contributed to humanity. I gave them examples of the lady who created the disposable diaper, another one who also invented chemotherapy. I'm listing the ones that I have mentioned to them. GPS, in fact, that one was the one that really surprised them, and they were pleased to hear that. And then I also gave them women firsts here in Nigeria, and women first that have come from really adverse circumstances here in Nigeria. I actually even gave them an example of one that strikes home for me. My mom. My mom is actually the first meteorologist here in Nigeria. And when I told them this, they were really awed, and a lot of them, started speaking out about how they have desires in STEM careers, medicine. So one of them even wanted to become a science teacher, which really, really pleased us. We were really excited and happy. And the principal of the school also herself is a scientist. She has a background in science education. And the more we were speaking to them, the more they opened up about their joy and wanting to continue that for the rest of their lives. That's what it's about. It's about encouraging our young girls.
Okay. There's also been, a lot of conversations about how STEM, now STEAM, is a major proponent in 21st century education. Is Lagos State doing enough? Do you think Lagos State is doing enough to ensure that that is the picture here?
I'm here. That shows that we are very serious about it. We have a lot of initiatives around it. In fact, we're going to be heralding and speaking about this first quarter, and of course the rest of the year. A lot of our students will actually be carrying out project-based learning, looking at things that are relevant to the real world. And then of course, having our students become critical thinkers, problem solvers. That's our desire, that's our goal. We want them to be people who will solve our own challenges. Notice I didn't say problems. Yes. I call them challenges. Solve our own challenges here in Nigeria and of course across Africa.
Okay, I think it's great that, the Lagos State government is doing all of this, working with students and teachers. But we find out that most of the challenges we have for STEM and STEAM education starts from the home. The child is very interested in science subject, but the parents, maybe having a different course for them, maybe even a career they wanted to venture into as a child, they never got a chance to say, I want my child to toe this part. So what are the ways that the Lagos State government have or plans to incorporate parents in changing their mindsets? Because when the kids, have taken a decision, I want to do this, your parents could switch it up.
Advocacy. That is a huge part of what we're going to be doing with Steam Up Lagos. We are going to be having programs where we will educate and enlighten the public about the real, I want to go beyond that word relevance, how critical, there you go, how critical it is for all of us in society to have these students become our own solution providers, because that's what they have to be. And it could be in various ways. They could say, I want to be a fashionpreneur. And somehow, everything that we do nowadays is infused with tech. I mean, we all have these smartphones. And as I told them yesterday, these things are machines because the amount of power that they have is enormous. And there are going to be more machines that are going to be created in this 21st century and beyond. We want our students to take advantage of this. And their parents to understand, and that's going to be part of this advocacy work we're going to do, is to understand that our children need to be a huge part of that. Not just here in Nigeria, but across the world. Because they are competing, as we can all see from the new normal. You're competing across a global landscape now. You're no longer competing in Lagos. You're no longer competing just in Nigeria. You're competing on a global front.
What would you say, have been the biggest setbacks or hindrances to, getting our students into that space? Science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics?
Mindset. A lot of us have this belief that it's too difficult. A lot of us have this belief that what's the point? Just 2 days ago, I believe, 2 days ago, I was on air and people were talking about, the challenges we have here, almost this deficit attitude, like, what's the point? Why should we even try? We have all these obstacles in our way. I actually see the obstacles, in my point of view, as more of a spur on that. You know what? Yes, I might have all these things making it harder for me, but if I push myself and work harder, that means when I get there at the summit, oh my God, it's going to be really sweet. So we need to encourage our students that yes, it's not all gravy, it's not perfect, but we work with what we have and we're going to get there. I mean, I look at nations like South Korea. Whenever I go out to conferences, I like to show them before and after of South Korea. They were just like us. And look at where they are now, a global powerhouse.
Well, there's obviously, I want your thoughts on this. There's obviously a challenge with regards our investments in education. So, you know, as much as there is a need to be, or there needs to be a change in the mindset and encouraging, you know, parents and teachers and all of that, do you agree that there also needs to be better investments in the education sector to make it easy for these young students to be able to flow into that line? For a student that wants to move strictly into science and technology, AI, how do you encourage a student like that if you don't have an education system that is properly funded?
I'm actually glad that you brought that up because it made me realize there are also things that I need to also highlight. I agree about putting more investment in education because that's really critical. In fact, like I said, I was on air 2 days ago and they were talking about the percentage that the UN recommends to be invested in education and how, unfortunately, for the most part, we've not really been matching that in Nigeria. And I had to bring to their own to their understanding that, look, guys, for the first time ever, and I was publicly rejoicing about this, for the first time ever, our state, Lagos State, last year, well, for this budget this year, has education as the highest priority. You could go Google it and check it yourself, has the highest priority behind works. I mean, of course, works was highest because works is highly capital intensive. But after that, when you look through the budget, you see the next in the line is education. And it's the first time ever that we've ever had that. And it's because there's so much work that needs to be done in education, particularly as the pandemic showed us that in order for us to carry all children, because our mandate is quality education for all children in Lagos State, in order for us to be able to carry that out, we need to have no more just-in-class learning anymore, or we call it in-person learning. It's now more of a hybrid where we're infusing tech. And that's one of the things that the governor has been really, really insistent upon, where we're infusing tech into how we teach. As we all saw last year, a lot of our students during the lockdown were home. Yes. So we had to do online learning where we gave them simple smartphones. We gave our students simple smartphones for free. Like I told them, it wasn't...
Sorry, students of which schools?
Our public schools.
All public schools in Lagos?
Well, we couldn't get to all our students because we're still working. In fact, I'm coming to that. That was... what we did was we had a couple of banks, I'm not going to mention their names, and other organizations donate simple smartphones and radios to us. So what we did was the radios, because we had radio programming during the lockdown to engage our students for learning. We gave the radios to the JSS3 because they were preparing for the Becker exam. Then we gave the simple smartphones to the SS3 students who were preparing for WAEC. And it wasn't as much devices as we wanted, but at least, like I said, it's a start. We had over 30,000 devices distributed to our public school students last year. And this year we have a budget, it's close to 2 billion, of us being able to get more devices to give out to our students. Our mandate is that we want to give simple smartphones to all our students across both our public schools and our low-cost private schools. Because, yes.
Are the simple smart devices preloaded with educational materials?
Yes, they are. They have learning management software where our students have our own Nigerian content, that's our Nigerian curriculum, as well as podcasts, videos that they're able to engage. And then our teachers are also able to reach them on WhatsApp and also work with them back and forth. So these are things that we started putting in last year from the pandemic, and we want to continue to do that this year. Because it's really important. Everybody's moving towards that. We need to move towards hybrid learning too, and we're doing that.
Yes. Let's talk about innovative teaching, because really, if the teachers, or the saying is that you can't give what you don't have, so how much training is the Lagos State government giving to the teachers in terms of the STEM fields, you know, digitalization and all of that, for them to be able to impart that over to the students?
That is something that we've been working relentlessly on since last year. Last year, okay, I'm trying not to mention names of organizations. An organization partnered with us to train over 18,000 of our teachers on how to use Zoom and some other technology to be able to reach out and engage with the students. And that's continuing. In fact, this year, you're going to be hearing more and more about different slews of training programs and engagements, because that's what we like, because really it is an engagement of the teachers so that they can start infusing these practices for our students. Like I always mention to people, the way you teach when you're doing in-person learning is totally different from the way you would do it with technology, because you have to make sure that you're able to capture the person's attention and have them go back and forth with you.
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to speaking to some of these teachers and students that have benefited from this. Let's hear, their experiences of this and how much their mindset have changed, before they got exposed to this tech fields and, tech sides of innovative teaching and learning as well. But let's focus a bit now about the STEAM Up project. Tell us a bit about that. For people who've never heard what the STEAM Up project is about, what is it about?
All right, so STEAM Up Lagos is a brainchild of our work around the mandate that the government, Mr. Governor has given us, which is, like I mentioned earlier, innovating education. He wants us to infuse the way we go about education with technology to prepare our students for the future of work. So what STEAM Up Lagos encapsulates is engaging the teachers into infusing practices where, like he had mentioned, AI, also pedagogy, STEAM pedagogy, where the students are engaged in problem solving, project-based learning, where they are thinking and saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to also learn to become a better communicator. I want people to understand what I'm working on. And then also being able to utilize all these technologies, machine learning, you had mentioned, I know we keep coming back to AI because that's what we all talk about all the time now. And of course, coding and all those various things. And also creating spaces for our students where they're able to carry out these kind of activities. That's what STEAM Up Lagos in a nutshell is about. We want our students to be able to be here in Nigeria, be here in Lagos, be here in Agege, Yaba, Badagry, all those places, and still be able to liaise with their peers in South Africa, in Kenya, in Europe, in America, and say, you know what, there's this global, for example, I remember Elon Musk, I think it's this week or last week, just put on the carbon challenge. We'd love our students to be able to look at that kind of challenge and say, you know what, our teachers had discussed about climate change with us. They had talked about different prototypes that we can carry out and work on. Okay, this is what I understand about this. Let's brainstorm, let's think about it. And one thing people need to understand is no solution is too small or too great. It's in your mind. You start thinking and start breaking it down.
Okay. There's, of course, all of this, these conversations need to continue. And we're also hoping that, as it has started, it will, be something that every year there's new ways and new investments into sustainability into it. But let's quickly also talk, we're almost out of time. Let's also talk about COVID-19, sending kids back to school. How safe are the kids from your assessment? And are there things that still need to be done by the government to ensure that the kids are entirely safe?
In terms of COVID-19, we've had and we are having and continue to have safety protocols that we put in place for all our schools, both public and private. People need to understand that the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Education for Lagos State is for all students. It's not for just private students or just public students, all students. So we do have safety protocols. Last year, we set up a huge task force around ensuring that we go out there, we make sure that the heads of schools, the principal, that's administration, and the teachers know what procedures to follow. And then also making sure that the right safety, health, and hygiene standards and procedures are put in place. And we've been going around, myself, the Honorable Commissioner, and our team, we've been going around doing COVID readiness tours where we go to schools, we check water, we check making sure that they are checking temperature, and then the number of students in the classroom, safety distance, social distance protocols are observed, things like that. We've been doing that. But beyond that, one thing that we are seeing and keeps unfolding is the need to educate the public, the populace, more about, guys, public health is everyone's business. We need to make sure that we understand that you're safe, that means you're helping to keep other people safe. So we need to keep educating our children about that, which comes back to what you're saying about also involving parents and also advocating more about, guys, this is not just wearing a mask, but a fashion accessory. It's for your life. In terms of why is it important that our students have to come back, I know a lot of people have been mentioning that, and I want to highlight that there. Now, people need to understand, particularly our public schools, they are safety havens for our students. There are places where they're able to come in and their children, they learn and they're happy. So it's important that we have these kind of places open for them. And one thing that we found out, and this is not just in Nigeria, across the world, I have studies here on my phone, the incalculable effects from the lockdown, it's going to really span out for us for the next one generation or 2 generations, because we lost a lot of time, we lost a lot of, how will I put it, I shouldn't call it manpower, because that's not what it is with education. With education, it's the work that they were doing, the brain work that they were doing. Yes. We lost that. And in order for us to get that back, it's going to take us some time. In fact, I was reading a study done by an association in America. They mentioned that they were 3 to 6 months behind because of the lockdown. And when I read that, I said, wow, if they're saying they're 3 to 6 months behind, what would some other nations in Africa who were already behind before that, what would we say? So that's why we need to have our students back, mitigate the risks while they're in school, and continue to engage them in learning. And then one thing I have to mention is we've also been doing splits where we have them come to school some days, off and on days, so that we can stagger the risks of,
I've seen that among, secondary students and primary students in my area. They go one day on and one day off. So thank you very much, Adetola Salau, the Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on Education. It's been a pleasure speaking with you on this very important issue of STEM and the STEAM Up project.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Stay with us. We come back and we're going to be talking more issues here in Lagos, but this time not education. It is occupying the Lekki toll gate and the government's reaction to it. We'll get straight into that after this short break.
From Ultima, the studios that brought you Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Project Fame West Africa, comes the world's #1 business reality show, Lion's Den, also known as Dragon's Den UK and Shark Tank USA. Aspiring entrepreneurs across Nigeria, here's your chance to pitch your business or idea to 5 Nigerian investors who are in search of businesses that are investment ready. Bring them on. Win them over with your pitch, and they will invest in your business and partner with you to make your dreams come true. But the question is, have you got what it takes to survive in the Lion's Den? To apply for Lion's Den, have an existing EcoBank account or open a new EcoBank account with a 10,000 Naira deposit and visit www.ultima.ng/lionsden to fill out an application form. Applications close on the 28th of February 2021. Lion's Den is proudly sponsored by EcoBank and Chapel Hill Denham in association with Bank of Industry and Development Bank of Nigeria, with the LIRS as strategic partners.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Cross Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
When we have organizations as reputable as the UN do this, it discourages the minute percentage of people who want to do right.
Is he aware that you're paying for electricity from your 30,000 naira minimum wage?
400 billion procurement, they will bring your own share to Ndokwa. Some contractors have made money. At the same time, Ndokwa people will still die.
They will expire before they get to
diseases.
Yeah. It's so painful.
It's exasperating, you know. I'm totally frustrated.
When they actually come, look you in the face and say, we are not aware.
The worst part of it is that you have Nigerians who say they support the president, who are suffering from partisan obscurantism. They are completely blind. They do not know what to do obscurantism.
Before we break, obscurantically.
It is still The Breakfast here on Plus TV Africa. And of course, now we're going to be talking about the conversation on the hashtag Occupy Lekki toll gates. The federal government and the Lagos state government have put out their thoughts very expressively on this and said they will not be tolerating any form of protest. Of course, you know, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, also spoke about it, saying that the destruction that occurred in the last protest will not be allowed to happen again. Of course, promoters of the protest have said there is no going back on the protest, and the Lekki toll gate will be occupied. That, of course, has been scheduled for tomorrow. We're joined this morning by Prince Francis Chilaka, Executive Director, KUTH Foundation, and Mohammed Abdullahi, a Public Relations Consultant. Thank you both for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Yes, good morning.
All right, I'm going to start with Francis Chilaka. The government's reasons for, of course, being against the idea of a protest. It says that, you know, the protest is likely to be hijacked by thugs, and the government doesn't want to allow any reason for violence and destruction of the country anymore. Do you agree, you know, that that is a good enough reason to say no to a peaceful protest?
I wouldn't agree with that because if we as Nigerians accept that as a good reason, what it simply means is that the opportunity for the ordinary Nigerian to make demands on governance will be taken away. We cannot say because we feel that a protest will be hijacked by hoodlums. Who are these hoodlums? Ordinarily, we expect that if there's going to be a protest, it is the duty of the security agency to also provide security for those who are protesting. And then we need to look at what is the protest all about. I think that as a matter of fact, what the government should be bothering itself is not about whether it's going to be hijacked or not, is to take every necessary measure to ensure that the protest does not hold. And there's only one way to stop that protest, and that is by calling off the takeover of the toll gate by the company. Until all the nitty-gritties surrounding the commission has been brought to light. We haven't seen an interim report. Nigerians are waiting to see an interim report. Nigerians are waiting to know the findings. So I think these are steps that should have been taken before reopening the toll gates.
All right. Mr. Abdullahi, let's bring you in here. Nigeria's Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, he said this yesterday, and I quote, "No government anywhere will allow a repeat of the kind of destruction, killings, and maiming wrought by the hijackers of the NSAS protest last year." We just heard Mr. Chilaka's thoughts on this. How about you? What do you think about this statement?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Nigerians. I think whether we want to agree with the Minister of Information or not, is actually a fact that no government, and even not only government, because when we talk about government, we are also talking about the citizens. We are all government, you know, in our own respective right. No government and its people will allow wanton destruction of properties. For instance, let me chip in this. The amount required to rebuild Lagos from the NSAS protest, whether we want to say it was hijacked by hoodlums in October, is actually above 1 trillion naira. And 1 trillion naira is exactly the amount of budget Lagos State has signed into law for the year 2021. So it means, you know, in another way around, if you want to rebuild what has been destroyed, there is nothing left for either capital or concurrent stuff in the budget this year. All we need, Lagos need, is to transform that budget of 2021 to rebuild what was destroyed last year. Again, I'm not saying this is not in any way supporting the fact that there shouldn't be a protest or so or whatsoever. But what I'm trying to say is that we need to be very, very cautious, because like I mentioned earlier, we are all part of governance. If we take part in destroying our home, where are we going to move to? So everybody can't leave Nigeria. Everybody can't leave Lagos. You understand? So it's very imperative upon all of us to be very cautious, to be patriotic, because this country belongs to us all, and we shouldn't take part in any way in destroying it.
Mr. Abdullahi,
so
but this protest is not to destroy Lagos, is it? It's to occupy the Lekki toll gate such that business would not continue there until justice is served on the victims of the shootings on the night of October 20th. So it's not about destruction. That's what the protesters are saying. They're saying justice before profit. They're saying let the government, let the Lekki panel, the Lagos panel, reveal the findings, the forensic audit on that toll gate before it's reopened. That's what they're saying. They're not talking about destruction, are they?
It is fine that they are not talking about destruction, and I totally agree with that. It is fantastic. But again, we are all Nigerians, and we know how these things run. Now, what are the measures, whether by government or the proposed protesters, putting in place in order to forestall a hijack like we saw in October 2020? What are the measures? Definitely, there should be measures from government. There should be measures from the protesters themselves to say, okay, this is how we intend to go about the protest, to make it very, very peaceful. And mind you, you remember, now, whether I want to say this other group are paid or not, but it is a fact that there is also a counter protest to say, okay, defend Lagos. If you have been following the trend, hashtag defend Lagos. So what are the measures that government and people are putting together, these protesters are putting together to ensure that this thing doesn't go haywire and we have ourselves to blame? I quite agree with you to say they are not planning to destroy Lagos, but again, what are the measures by government and the people putting together to ensure that it goes peaceful?
Francis Chilaka, I would like you to respond to that.
Well, you see, I think sometimes we like, I'll tell some people, we play too much in this country and we take a lot for granted. Honestly speaking, this protest can actually be averted. Government has the power to do that. But unfortunately, we seem to have a government that has no listening ear. And because they don't listen, you know, when you push a child to the wall and there's nowhere else for the child to go, the child will try to find a way out of it. What will it take the government, especially the Lagos State government, who is so afraid of a protest being hijacked? What will it take them to say, okay, we will not hand over this toll gate. We will do that after a forensic report has come out, after a preliminary report has been submitted by a commission. So, you see, what is playing out is that it brings us back to what has been happening in this country. Every time there's a problem, the government knows what the Nigerian people want. They want to see government in action. The government sets up a panel. And the panel would sit once, twice, three times, four times. At the end of the day, nothing gets done. And I believe that the government had thought that by now, Nigerians would have forgotten what happened in October. Nigerians would have moved on. But it is not like that, because lives were lost, whether we like it or not. Properties were damaged. People's source of income was affected. So I think that this government owes it as a duty to Nigerians to do everything possible to avert a protest. And the only way they can do that is let us go back to status quo. until the commission submits a report.
All right. Also address the perspective of the Defend Lagos side of this. And of course, Mr. Mohammed Abdullahi also mentioned that the government and the protesters have a responsibility to ensure that it is not hijacked. So also quickly speak on that. What role do the protesters have to ensure that the protest is not hijacked by those who want to be violent? And where does the government come in here to ensure that there's no violence as that's happened in the last one?
For those of us who followed closely the October protest, the NSAS protest, we all would say, we beat our chest and would say, yes, it was something that started well, it was well organized until it got hijacked. The question is, who hijacked it? We have a policing system. How come our police do not have intel? How come they do not know who these hijackers are? We all saw what was playing out especially in Abuja, where people were being conveyed with SUVs and all of that. So it is the duty of government. It is the duty of the Nigerian police to provide protection for those who are for the protest and for those who similarly are against the protest. There is nothing wrong with anybody saying, let us protect Lagos. But the question is, we need to know the intentions of those people who want to protect Lagos or to defend Lagos. At what point, what are they trying to defend? Are they trying to say that those who are asking for justice have no right to ask for it? Who are the brains behind this protect Lagos or defend Lagos? So it's something that the government should do. And the government's role is to say that let the Nigerian police provide protection for the two groups if the government is being sincere. The truth of the matter is, like I keep saying, it is in the hands of government to stop this protest from taking place.
Mr. Abdullahi, quickly, the Defend Lagos group, do you think that they maybe should be interested in protecting government property from being destroyed as against going against those who want to peacefully protest? Do you think that maybe the Defend Lagos group should have it in mind that their job at this point is to ensure that government property is not destroyed, and they would be able to counter in any way, maybe online or on ground, those who have plans, the thugs, the miscreants as they've been described, who want to destroy government property? Do you think that maybe that's where they should be focused on?
Definitely, that's fine. That's a very good angle. But again, that is the statutory function of the Nigerian police. The Defend Lagos protesters can actually just complement their effort, but statutorily, that is the function of the Nigerian police to ensure that the protest and the protesters are safe, whether you are for or against the protest. But definitely they can complement. But again, I want to, chip into what Mr. Chilaka mentioned, which is actually a fact that, I am of the fact that, I am of the opinion that it is not at this time that the government should be talking about reopening the toll gate, because there are so many salient issues that have not been resolved yet. So, this opening of the toll gate, reopening of the toll gate, is breeding another issue. So why not analyze the issue at hand first before trying to resurrect another issue? So it is not the right time for government to talk about reopening that toll gate. And I think they can shelve that idea in order to put up the protest in totality.
Okay, so I understand that the government have a right, so to speak, to stop a protest if they feel, this might pose a danger to the people. But on the other hand, we all have a right, especially, in democracies, we have a right to peaceful protest, we have a right to peaceful assembly. So at what point does the government right to stop a protest that seem to, have the potential to escalate into violence? At what point does that now begin to infringe on the rights of the ordinary citizens to peaceful assembly, like the Occupy Lagos protest for Saturday? Mr. Chilaka.
Power belongs to the people. Democracy is government for the people, by the people, and of the people. And our leaders need to understand that these are the tenets of democracy. The people have a right more than those they have elected. We have elected them. They must listen to us. But unfortunately, we must say things the way they are. We've had governments that do not listen to the people. What we've had in Nigeria is government that decides what they think the people need and not what the people really need themselves. If you are saying you have a right to stop a protest, and the people are saying we also have a right to protest, agreed. The question begging for an answer is, what is government doing to ensure that there is a level playing ground? The government should look at the demands of those who are saying they want to protest. And a sensitive government, a proactive government, by now would have said, good, let us avert this situation. We feel that this protest will be hijacked. We feel that lives will be lost. It is the duty of government to protect the lives and property of Nigerians. And the government must do everything within its power to ensure that at every point, the lives and property of Nigerians are protected. And the only way the only way we can avert the protest is by saying, call off the issue of opening the toll gate. It's like Nigeria, it's like the universities that have been shut down for a long time. What are their demands? The demands, 90% of the demands is not even for university lecturers. 90% of the demands is to ensure that we have a good environment, sound education for our younger generations. What will it stop? What will stop government from finding a level playing ground? The government should stop playing with the lives of Nigerians, which is what has been going on. We are not in a country where we have no rights. We have a right, and the government must respect that, and not always wielding the big stick. The government must learn the art of negotiation and inclusive governance.
All right. Okay, I would like to ask Mr. Abdullahi this question. In the statement that Lai Mohammed, issued, he made this quote. He said, "Security agents are ready for any eventuality." Should intending protesters take this as, a statement that the government is ready to protect them, or could it be interpreted as a threat, saying security agents are ready for any eventuality?
Now, we need to look at precedents seriously in interpreting some of these statements. When the minister says the government or the security agencies are ready, but what are the precedents? Yeah, what are the precedents that we've had over the years or over time of such situation? Are our security agencies ready? The fact is, I beg to disagree. So, even with recent situations, so, you take that with a pinch of salt, no insult intended, but seriously, we take that with a pinch of salt because of the precedent, what has been happening, just yesterday, sorry to digress a little, just yesterday at Obalende, where you have police force headquarters there, we had miscreants fighting and I think shooting, and I saw a video where, a small group of policemen were just like standing and watching, like it's a football game also. So it's very difficult for the protesters now to believe that, security agencies are standby to protect them. It's very difficult. But again, I wouldn't say it's a threat. Because, every government in the world will find a way, whether through statement, whether through fact, whether through action, to say they want to protect their citizens, the properties of their citizens, and so on and so forth. So, but I will still go back to my argument that the best way to protect the citizens of Lagos at this moment and the property of Lagos at this moment is to share the idea of reopening that toll gate now. That is the best way. That's just the simple best way.
Okay.
Right.
You don't want to start thinking of eventualities and counter it. No. What do you do proactively? You have seen that you made this statement and it has generated furor. It has generated anger. So what do? You rescind it. It's simple.
All right. To both of you now, I think if you can, in 30 seconds each, what would your suggestions be for the NSAS or Occupy Lekki Tollgate protesters? Would you ask them to shelve the protest until they are sure that the government will, be on their side and, play its role in protecting peaceful protesters? Or would you say, go ahead, because the Nigerian government doesn't or hasn't seemed sincere in its actions with regards allowing peaceful protesters? I'm going to start with Mohammed Abdullahi, and then another 30 seconds for Francis Chilaka.
In as much as, people have the right to protest, to air their grievances and so on and so forth. But at this moment, what we see in Lagos concerning the last strike, the last protest, I would actually advise the protesters to shelve their action for a moment and give government the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, ask government to also rescind their decision of reopening the toll gates. Thank you.
All right, Francis Chilaka.
Well, I think that we seem to be focusing on Lagos, but we forget that this thing has a way of boomeranging. If this protest holds tomorrow in Lagos, trust me, it will hold in other states. So it is right time the government has several hours to play with today. I believe that between now and 12 noon, the federal government or the state government should shield the opening of the toll gate to ensure that this protest does not hold.
Indeed, thank you very much for your time and thoughts, Mr. Abdullahi there saying, it's important for us to have dialogue. Let the people, hold on and let them say the government too should not allow LCC to repossess the toll gate. And Mr. Chilaka's thoughts there as well. Thank you so much. We're very grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
It's also very important to know if Francis Chilaka mentioned the government, hasn't shown to always listen to the thoughts of the people or the cries of the people. Does the government understand that at a time like this, they maybe should put the LCC takeover on hold?
Indeed.
Do they understand that it's also their role to protect peaceful protesters?
I mean, if that's the bone of contention, that's where the solution should come from, not from reactions to the issue.
So are they aware? Is it?
Of course they are.
We talk about these things a lot, and, we have analysts, really, really sound analysts who say it as it is. But is the government aware? Is the Lagos State governor aware that his responsibility, apologies, that his responsibility at a time like this is to have a conversation with his best advisors and, get people to tell him that, oh God, this is what the bone of contention is here, and it's best that you put it on hold, at least until the people understand that your efforts are genuine and sincere. Does Mr. Lai Mohammed understand that it is the government's responsibility to ensure that people can protest peacefully, and you have the protection of the police to ensure that there's no breakdown of law and order? Does he understand that if there's breakdown of law and order, it is because of a failure of the government to prevent that?
See, one of my issues with this, not just this Lekki protest, whether it's fuel hike, electricity tariff hike, whatever it is, there's an issue at stake, a fundamental issue. Like I said, maybe it's the increase in fuel, maybe it's the reopening of the toll gate. These issues are then sidelined. And then when people react to them, the government now attack the reactions. I mean, if you can just fix the key issue, we won't be having protests. People won't be reacting negatively to this. So I just hope that the government is listening and see that the bone of contention here is the fact that Nigerians are not happy that the LCC is about to repossess the Lekki toll gate when there's an ongoing investigation there, not yet concluded. So if that issue is actually addressed like our analysts and experts have said, very, 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 I mean, let's take for instance, if the government comes on to say today, this morning, that the Lekki toll gate would not be operated by the LCC until investigation is complete, trust me, everybody will go back home.
So there is also the part that we shouldn't leave out. At what point are the protesters going to be satisfied? If the governor of Lagos State says, oh, well, we're going to put this takeover on hold.
On hold, yes.
And then there's going to be a forensic investigation. If the forensic investigation shows, results that people are not very happy with, will they be also ready to protest again?
That will be another kettle of fish.
Exactly.
But the issues are step by step. This is the main issue now. When the forensic investigation audit is out, that will now be another issue.
Some other thing is, it shouldn't take months or years to investigate and give justice to those people who are affected by the high-handedness of Special Anti-Robbery Squad officers and Nigerian police officers. It shouldn't take years. We've seen these panels have these discussions, seen people give testimonies. how long is it going to take before we see that, oh, this person has been found guilty, this police officer that shot this person or killed this person has been found guilty?
Let me read something to you, Sarage. Here's the minister's statement. He said, 6 soldiers and 37 policemen were murdered in cold blood, and 269 private and public property were looted and razed during the last protest. In this statement, there was nothing about the people who died.
Yes.
There was nothing about Nigerians who lost their lives, Nigerians who were injured, but just about 6 soldiers and 37 policemen.
They almost do not exist or do not
It now
matter.
shows you, it now makes you ask, is this really a government of the people or a government of, security officials?
Anyway, we're out of time. Let's get into something else. We're taking a break. When we come back, we're talking cryptocurrency. The Senate has once again, this time summoned the CBN governor and, of course, the DG of Security and Exchange Commission. We'll talk about that, and that comes up after the short break.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya. Which America?
As it then mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
You're welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Sadly, before we came live on air, it's been a heated debate about the Lekki protest. Trust me, in the studio. And glad to know that we're about to bring that heat into dissecting our next topical issue. And it's about the cryptocurrency ban in Nigeria. The Nigerian Senate has invited CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to the Senate to, of course, speak about this and defend his actions. The ban on cryptocurrency trading in Nigeria. We've invited this morning a chartered accountant and public affairs analyst, Alistair Wilcox. Good morning, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's begin. First of all, where do you stand on this cryptocurrency ban issue? Are you pro or are you against?
I'm neither pro nor against. I'm only looking at the issues and the facts of the matter. I stand for national security and monetary policy stability. So if I have to take it from that angle, then I think the CBN or the monetary regulatory authorities in the country has enough evidences, enough information at their disposal to carry out whatever actions. Not every action carried out benefits every sphere of society. Whatever actions, there must be those who benefit and those who, as in any policy matter, there must be those who benefit and those who will lose out. The important thing is let's look at the aggregate, what is the national security interest that is at play as to why such policy will come to the fore.
Okay, just digging into your answer, how does cryptocurrency trading affect monetary policy stability in Nigeria? Could you explain that?
Well, as a matter of fact, if you ask 10 analysts or 10 economists about cryptocurrency, they will give you 10 different answers. Because as of today, cryptocurrency is an instrument that is new, that came out not out of the regular monetary system. I have never traded in it before because really I don't have any specific interest in such, because I do not have understanding of what happens, how you are trading on it and what happens about. And that is also why a lot of people that jump into it when it came out, a lot of people got their fingers burnt, and a lot of people either lost money or they ran away from it. So it's not something that is something that everybody have understand. For instance, you have understanding of your money, of your regular paper money. You have an understanding of it. You have understanding of how you trade with your money, what you do with your money. But in this case, a lot of people give different diversions. Say it is backed by gold, it is something you buy and it start trading. You can use it for international payment. So there are no specifics. And that is why CBN, central banks or military authorities across the globe, has been having sleepless nights as to how to accommodate that aspect of our national finance or international financing model into their national financial models. So it's been every monetary authorities in the world has been having that challenges and looking at the broad. Yes, instruments are supposed. For instance, we have gold as a measurement of value, as an instrument of exchange. We have other metals as which cryptocurrency is trying to take part of it. And there are several aspects. Cryptocurrency is just the broad name. There are several products under the cryptocurrency basket. There are various products. So it's been a challenge. So that is why CBNs, monetary authorities across the world is looking at the pros and cons. Can it be monitored? Can it be regulated? Can it be traced? Can it be tracked? Remember, since 9/11, the world has not been the same in terms of international financing models. That is why you have various laws that came into forces. That's why you have jurisdictions that asked to establish anti-corruption agencies, which gave birth to our own EFCC and all whatnot, because of monitoring a movement of funds for the stabilization of economies, financing of terrorism, money laundering, and all those financial crimes. So people are looking at this new emergency as in that light. So when it gives headache to monetary authorities, then it's something that everybody needs to take a position on.
So from what you've said, as long as we don't understand it, it's safer to ban it for now or until we understand it?
Not. It's been in operation. Not that they don't have understanding of it, but in terms of regulation, in terms of monitoring, in terms of tracking, in terms of the real worth of those instruments, a lot of people, it's fraud with a lot of secrecy, a lot of fraud, a lot of misdemeanors.
So why is the government not saying we want to regulate cryptocurrencies?
The government didn't ban, the government did not ban cryptocurrency in Nigeria. What the CBN did is you cannot transfer your cryptocurrency value into accounts in Nigeria. So you are free to trade your cryptocurrency. Nobody said you should not trade on cryptocurrency. And that's sometimes when news come out, and I always blame journalists, forgive me, in not putting the news in the proper perspective. Especially in this country, we like to fly news when it comes out. And so the government never banned cryptocurrency. I mean, nobody can ban you from engaging in the business that is legitimate to you, so long as it does not affect national security. But what the government has done is to say, people always transfer their values. That's why you have some of these virtual accounts with some banks. So what people do is to transfer the value. Like I said, I have not participated in cryptocurrency trading. I know where I put my little money. I know the instruments I put my assets and investments. I know and where I can monitor, where it's transparent and everything. Where I can be sure when I'm sleeping safely and soundly. So people understand that people always transfer their cryptocurrency values or values into domiciliary accounts in Nigeria and make use of, so that is where the government has banned, because some of these monies cannot be traced. There is a lot of, and it is not in Nigeria that has banned it. Some other jurisdictions, even the UK Exchequer has also placed a serious ban on it. Even the US, the Treasury in the US is having serious issues. They've not come up with that right ban, but jurisdictions across the globe is having a rethink because it distorts national planning. That's for sure. Because since you cannot regulate a national, sometimes we don't even know how we define a national economy. It's a function of information, data, demand and supply, consumption, and things that you can calculate, you can trace. Now, nobody knows where the sources of these funds come from. Most of them comes from money laundering activity. Most of these funds are...
You can't say most. Those are, I guess, assumptions?
No. I mean, the monetary authority that knows more than every one of us. I mean, there are 1,001 economists. There are a lot of people who also there will have benefited, because a lot of people... yes, a lot of people, I will agree, a lot of people have benefited from that trade. A lot of people have got their fingers burnt. I know that there was a time in my small community, in one of my communities, this thing was running everywhere. And people were opening accounts, virtual accounts, people were opening. And before 2-3 months, the whole thing collapsed because people lost money.
Because they didn't understand it.
That is the thing. Because people lost money, and that is one thing Nigeria will do. Some things will not, just so long as they tell you, this is this. And it saddens me when I hear people come to say the government doesn't understand it.
But business is a risk. Even if you invest in the stock markets that everybody knows about, if you don't understand the stock market, you can lose money.
MMM too was a risk, right? MMM was a risk, right?
Every business venture is a risk.
But there are ones that are approved, regulated, and can be controlled. Like if you go to the stock market, the issue of the stock market is that you have regulatory control. No one man can wake up and run away with your money. I remember the days of MMM. Let me just diagram. I remember the days of MMM. On my birthday, December 6th, I was on a program. And that was the issue we talked about. And I told them...
I'm sorry, Mr. Lester, you can never compare a Ponzi scheme of MMM to a digital currency as Bitcoin. I just feel that they're very far-fetched.
No, they're not very far-fetched. They're not very far-fetched. We're talking of understanding now. We're talking of understanding. I just told you that a lot of people that went into digital currency, these cryptocurrency businesses, most got their fingers burnt.
Well, once again, most is what I don't agree with. So because I don't remember, when there was, a crisis all across the world, all across Nigeria, about people who
because you wouldn't
lost
know.
money.
Because you wouldn't know.
I'm sure that we would know. We would have heard the same way we heard about MMM. I'm sure we would have known.
No, because let me tell you, you know why MMM? MMM because it was like a wild wind, and everybody was into it.
Same way a lot of people are into
cryptocurrency. Yes, a lot of people went to bed because it is virtual. Because it is something that you wake up in the morning, the value has gone so high. You go up the next day, you don't even understand. So that is the issue.
Let's get into the CBN has pointed out, like you said, money laundering, and then also monetary policy, being able to control the outflow of the dollar from Nigeria. Those are, likely some of their fears with the whole cryptocurrency issue. But let's talk about the Senate now, inviting the CBN governor and the Security and Exchange Commission DG. What conversations or what do you think that this invitation is all about? What do you hope what do they hope to achieve?
Well, it's normal when there is a public outcry. The National Assembly always want to flex their muscles and always want to assert their oversight function, which is legitimate. I wish them luck, but the truth of the matter is, do they at the National Assembly, how many of them understands the nitty-gritty of what the CBN is? The CBN will go there and give them their reasons, which is legitimate. And I think there's nothing wrong in National Assembly interview, because I know that a lot of powerful people have interest in the digital money, this cryptocurrency. A lot of powerful people, a lot of institutions have interest in it. And so, and that's why I said from the beginning that when there's a policy, not everybody gains. Now, what we're going to look at is the national overall interest. Look, we have an issue. We have a problem in the country. Our balance of payment is bad. Our foreign reserve is depleting. We are not exporting. We are only an import-consuming country. And that is why the value of our currency keep dipping. And so when somebody come and tell me the naira has fallen, Buhari has done this, I say, look, you are just being, you don't know what you're saying. In a country that you're a consuming economy, you want to consume everything foreign. How won't your currency? How will your country get strength? You consume, and as the day goes by, our tastes keep expanding. Our tastes keep expanding. Our population keep increasing. Those who want to get new iPhone 10 are increasing by the day. Because as your ages grow, especially my female folks, as your ages grow, you want to change your phone and to iPhone 12, iPhone 15.
You can't blame people for having taste.
I can blame you for unbridled.
No, okay. You can't blame people for having taste. You can't necessarily also blame people for not wanting to purchase locally. Yeah. What we can instead do is expect that the government would have policies and would set up. Government.
Let's start. God.
But this is why I will say so, because you would expect that government will create policies. Government will create an enabling environment for those things to thrive. Let's look at agriculture. Yeah. We've dealt with insecurity for the last 5-6 years. We've dealt with it on levels that we probably had never imagined would happen. Those are things that will affect the production and productivity of Nigerians in different sectors. We've dealt with electricity challenges in ways that it's embarrassing to hear that the giant of Africa is living with this type of electricity. It is not the citizens' fault that they cannot manufacture the things that you expect them to manufacture.
Let me tell you something. Failure. Yes. Excuses. Excuses. The biggest component of failure.
Great.
You can make excuses from now till tomorrow. China was in a worse situation than we were.
Great.
Okay? Years back, China was in a worse situation than we were. China did not take excuse. China did not wait for government. Government is not God. Look, yes, I agree. In this country, do you know the problem we have in this country? We see government as next to God. We want government to feed you in the morning, government feed you in the afternoon, government feed you in the night, government give you free education, government give you free. That is mentality. Let me say this, sir.
I think it's unfair.
Let me say this, sir.
Go ahead.
Let me say this, sir. They had the ingenuity of Nigerians. Those who have succeeded in this country, they also succeeded in this same decadent, call it decadent, dilapidated, unworking. Yet millionaires are growing up every day. There was a time, do you know how many people that made money out of the stock market during this COVID-19? Do you know how many people that made money when everywhere was locked down? Do you know the stock market was booming? Do you know the stock market was booming when everywhere was locked down? Did you see the result posted by companies in the stock market under COVID-19? The same economy, no money came from abroad. No, there was not even investment. You're talking about agriculture. The government is a policy. Do you know the government made so much policy about agriculture that even create protectionism for rice growers. Protectionism for rice growers. Do you know how many field mills we have in the country today? Do you know how many rice mills we have in the country? Do you know the problem that the problem is we don't take time to investigate these things and know. We are good at complaining. We are good at coming on air and deride, but we don't take time to investigate. I tell you the problem. We have a problem. The citizens are number one problem. Government did policy to protect local growers of rice. A lot of rice, Nigerian rice, go to the market now, a lot of Nigerian rice are in the market. What do we have? They take advantage. The same Nigerian that they do to protect you, take advantage of that opportunity to milk the same citizen. Okay. So we have an unequal society. And until we purge ourselves of ourselves, of greed, of nepotism, of kill the next man syndrome, we will keep blaming government till thy kingdom come. We will not move.
So because, you know, our conversation this morning is not about rice.
Yes. Let's bring it back to the topic. See, Mr. Alex Hawks, I would like us to go back in time to look at the history of money. We all started from where? Was it
Manila?
Metal?
We started with trade by barter.
Exactly, trade by barter. That was like that was like the earliest form of trade and currency, exchange of value. Yes. And then we went to trade in precious metals. We went on to trade in cowries, and then coins, and then paper money. Yes. Looking at this trajectory, don't you think that Bitcoin and virtual currencies is the future of money?
Yeah, no. There's no doubt about it. As evolution, like you said. Thank you for that. 101 economics. There's no doubt that there are evolutions in the world, and the world keeps evolving. You cannot, but you see, you can't go faster than your shadow. You can't from elementary 1. Okay, it's primary now. When I did, it was elementary. You can't go from primary 1 or basic, what they call it now, basic, I don't know, to 1, and then you start taking 6. In these evolutions, things changes. Like when they are doing trade by barter. What was the problem they had in trade by barter? Measurement of value. You don't know how many yams can give you a piece of cloth. It depends on haggling price, right? We moved to, so they saw a problem in that. So they moved to they find a solution to it. They moved to the next level. And this evolved. We go to Malina. They even time we have got to gold and all those. Now we go to paper money that has measurement value. Before we used to have pounds, shillings, and pence. We go to that level.
Yes.
It is now pounds and pence, naira and kobo. Yes. So these are evolutions. Yes, I agree, and that's why I said monetary authorities over the world are not against cryptocurrencies or virtual monies. No, but you see, what is giving them the headache now is how to make it relevant and safe and secured in terms of national security and world security. Because the issue of terrorism is very, very...
Sorry, let me pick on one of your answers. You mentioned talking about security for transactions.
Yes.
Do you have any idea, in fact, just how much money laundering or theft or criminal activities are conducted worldwide every day with our credit card?
No, sure.
Credit card theft, credit card fraud.
No.
I think crime would always exist, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's dollar or whether
crime
it's
will
naira.
exist. Crime will exist, and that is why it is that your card keep having innovations, right? Your card. Mm-hmm. When our cards came out, the security features were not as it is. Hackers were easily to hack and all whatnot. And what? That's the challenge. So it keep happening. So there will be criminals. The criminals will not go away. They are not going away today. The children that are going to be born this year, in the next 20 years, most of them will become criminals.
Almost again. Jesus
Some of them, few of them. sorry.
Maybe.
Few of them will become criminals. And again, depending on how the society is. If the society's doors are wider open to encourage this crime.
Crime will always exist.
Yes,
I don't think crime
and that is why you must keep taking preemptive actions to minimize, not eradicate. Okay? Even Switzerland, the country says the one with the least prison, the CF prison, and the CF police. So there will still be crime. So that's what I'm saying is that we must not see everything government does in the light of it's not favoring the citizen. If government cannot control the economy, it will create inflation. You now blame government. It will create scarcity, you now blame government. It will create crime. Because if there is so much influx of illicit funds from nowhere, where sources they cannot really trace, and then your mates, both of you left university the same day. I'm just being in the school, you are the one giving him, he was on 001 or 10 or 010, and you are the one that is using supporting driver, and tomorrow you see him buy the houses in Lekki. Some of that people will get, so will get so angry. Say, well, how come did I escort this man to Nigeria? And you don't know any visible means of income that he is doing. So it could create crime, it could create more disturbance. So nobody says they are banning cryptocurrency, they've not banned it. People are free to trade on their assets. Understand that you can use cryptocurrency to buy goods, exchange goods and services. That's the means of exchanges. But what the government says, please, you can't transfer the values into virtual accounts in Nigeria.
But you know, like we've seen on social media, this would just be another way to even, you know, increase the revenue for other countries or make the economies better for countries like Ghana, because they've mentioned that they would open Ghana bank accounts and transfer it, you know, convert it to
Ghana will not.
Ghanaian cedis. We can't really say. But one thing I wanted to...
Let me tell you something.
All right, go ahead.
Let me tell you something. CBNs are... That when I said the UK exchequer banned it, you see, financial institutions, no financial center across the world, apart from those rogue states, or those, there are a lot of rogue states we have in this country. I don't want to mention any country's name. There are states where they encourage money laundering, open free accounts, get citizenship, and all that. Apart from those, and those states are always at the radar of the international financial crime commissions. So apart from those states, not a state like Ghana that's also battling with their own set of problems that people will not boast in open Ghana. You see, do people think that Ghana is just an open economy? Ghana is my second home.
All right.
And I can tell you a few things about Ghana. So do people think that Ghana is just a place you walk across and do all kinds of things? The things you do in Nigeria and get away. You can't do it you can't even think it in Ghana. And you think you get away with it.
Quickly, what do we? I need to, I need us to wrap up with the conversation on the Senate once again.
Yes.
Many times we've seen them summon government officials and heads of agencies. Not very often that we get to see results. And so, should we look at this, or should Nigerians ignore this invitation as just one of, part of the whole process that may not bring anything, fruitful?
No, you don't. You see, informations are key. The policy that came out from the CBN is just a policy. There's no underlining revelations as informations, what they have, what reasons for it. So I think those reasons will be presented to those informations and the reasons will be presented to the Senate.
They've given their reasons. They're saying trafficking.
That is broad now. That is broad. You just put one guideline. I mean, in school we said, name this. You put you now write the essay. So the essay will be made known to the.
You mean a report?
Our respected legislators.
Okay.
They will be adequately informed. They will see the facts of the matter. They will see the pros and the cons. And let's give it to our CBN. We may not have all the best, but I think we have some of the best brains.
Does the Senate have the powers quickly? Do they have the powers to ask the CBN to reverse these policies?
No. This is an administrative. This is not a what they call it now, a legislative issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's not it's an administrative issue.
Okay.
What they will do is to get information and be able to help the country again.
Okay.
Inform their constituents. Mm-hmm. This is the reason why the country take this, and this is the reason why CBN, and let's follow them. Please trade in your cryptocurrency. Trade in it. Nobody says you should not trade in it. And a lot of people do not have this information. Trade in it. I've spoken about this in other medias, and I've told Nigerians nobody banned cryptocurrency trading. You are free to trade it. Yeah. But please, what the CBN said, don't bring the pros into your virtual accounts, and we don't know out of all this, we don't know who will bring in illicit money to fund Boko Haram, to fund all kinds of instability we have in the country.
All right. So, well, the thing now is we just can't wait to see the outcome of this Senate meeting with CBN governors.
They will talk and they will get information.
Yeah, we can't wait because definitely there are senators who are against it and there's some who are for it. I mean, there's this one co-sponsor of the motion, Senator Abiru, representing APC Lagos East. He said the economic benefits associated with cryptocurrencies cannot be eroded by the central bank's ban. So we'll just have to wait.
He's a banker. He just left the bank, so he's a banker. So he also have good information because he's a banker. He just left as the bank. The CBN too has people like him that has first-hand information after the problem. So let's see who has a bigger
thank
part
you,
about the pie.
Alistair Wilcox is a chartered accountant. He says Nigerians need to wake up the same way the Chinese woke up and stop blaming government all the time. Good morning to you once again. Thanks for joining us so far on Breakfast.
Nice discussion. I love this.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on Breakfast. If you missed out on any parts of this conversation, join us on social media. It's at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on our YouTube channel also. Thanks to Aneta also.
Yes.
It's been a great week.
Yes, so have a great weekend and happy Valentine's Day in advance.
Remember.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. You have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the pulse of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say.
The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit the offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya. Which America?
As it then do mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Thanks for joining us on Plus News and NSAS protesters at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020. The organizers explained that they are undaunted by threats from security operatives and the counter-protesters under the aegis of #DefendLagos. The Commissioner of Police of Lagos State, Hakeem Odubosu, says no protest will hold at the Lekki toll gate on Saturday, the 13th of February 2020. Talks of a protest emerged after the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry, probing the alleged killing of NSAS protesters by soldiers at the Lekki toll gate last Saturday, decided to hand over the toll gate back to its operators, the Lekki Concession Company, after forensic experts submitted their report on the October 20, 2020 incident. Subsequently, hashtags such as Occupy Lekki Tollgate and counter-protest hashtags such as Defend Lagos and Dem No Born Your Papa Well trended online. Both protests are slated for Saturday.
The command has gathered intelligence that some hidden agendas of destruction and shadow parties planned and orchestrated the last NSAS violence have conducted and completed plans to cause another state of nature in Lagos State and spread the same to other parts of the country, tactically and spontaneously, like the recent violence. Premised on available intelligence and due threat analysis carried out on the planned protest, the command perceives such proposed protests and the counter-protest as a calculated attempt to cause pandemonium and massive destruction of lives and properties under whatever guise, and such should not be allowed to happen in Lagos State.
Still in the news, the federal government says it will not allow the destabilization of Nigeria and the perpetration of violence in the country under the guise of NSAS protest. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at a press conference stated this ahead of a planned protest at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos on Saturday. Mohammed said Nigerian activists have linked up with their foreign counterparts, including subversive elements, with a view to destabilizing the country. This is contained in a text of his speech from the conference shared on the official Twitter handle of the Ministry of Information and Culture. The hashtag Occupy Lekki Tollgate campaigners are kicking against the decision to reopen the tollgate under the control of the Lekki Concession Company. And the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, has called for a state of emergency over insecurity. Otom also said the federal government has failed in protecting farmers from criminal herdsmen. The governor said many of the complicit herdsmen are foreigners who migrated into the country to graze their cattle, thus they need to ban open grazing completely.
Lateef Kayode Jakonde was born in Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island on the 23rd of June.
If a state of emergency is not declared on security in this country, we may wake up one day and discover that we have no country. And the worst thing is that most or almost all the herdsmen who are terrorizing this country, they are not even Nigerians. I have said this several times. Mr. President also admitted this when he visited United Arab Emirates and confirmed that truly those herdsmen with arms are not Nigerians. They are from Chad, they are from Mali, they are from Senegal, they are from other countries.
Also in the news, Nobel laureate Professor Wale Soyinka says he does not believe President Muhammadu Buhari is in charge of the captaincy of the nation. He said if the commander-in-chief of the armed forces were indeed in charge, the insecurity situation in the country wouldn't have degenerated to the present state. The southwest region has been in the eye of the storm lately over the activities of herdsmen who invade farmlands with their cattle, harass farmers, and in some cases kill them. Some headsmen have also been accused of kidnapping, rape, and other vicious crimes. Some headsmen also trespassed in the compound of the respected academic scholar with their cattle, despite repeated warnings. And the Nigerian Governors Forum says it has reached a consensus on the need for the country to transit into modern systems of animal husbandry, which will replace open, night, and underage grazing in the country. In a communique issued at the end of its 25th virtual meeting and signed by Forum Chairman Kayode Fayemi, the governors were encouraged to put in place systems to accelerate the grazing initiative of the National Livestock Transformation Plan and ranching in the country. The consensus was reached to address the rising insecurity in the country, which has been linked to armed headsmen operating as bandits. Meanwhile, the forum condemned the ethnic profiling of crime in the country and resolved to convene an emergency meeting of all governors on the matter. The former President Olusegun Obasanjo has described the late former governor of Lagos State, Lateef Jakonde, as a core Democrat and true patriot. In a letter to Jakonde's widow, Abimbola, Obasanjo said the first civilian governor of Lagos will be sorely missed by all of us. The former governor died in the early hours of Thursday at the age of 91. Former Lagos State Governor Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has described the first civilian governor of the state, Lateef Jakonde, who died on Thursday, as the last of the political titans. Tinubu said the late Jakonde could appropriately be described as the last of the titans, ranking with the likes of Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Adekunle Ajasin, Pa Abraham Adesanya, Bola Ige, Olabi Onabanjo, Balarabe Musa, and Aminu Kano, among others. He said the late Jakonde was also a mature statesman, never given to histrionics or fanning the embers of disunity. Still in the news, of course, here in Lagos State, undoubtedly his giant strides in housing development and free education policy in Lagos State are yet to be rivaled after 38 years when he left power. In this next report, Plus TV Africa correspondent Destiny Momo chronicles the life and times of the non-Nigerian Lateef Jakonde, the first executive governor of Lagos State.
Lateef Kayode Jakonde was born in Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island on the 23rd of July, 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enuowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, between 1934 to 1943. He studied briefly at King's College in 1943 and then enrolled at Ilesha Grammar School in 1945, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. In 1949, Jakonde began a career in journalism, first with the Daily Service, and then in 1953 joining the Nigerian Tribune. In 1956, he was appointed editor-in-chief of the Tribune by the owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. After leaving the Tribune in 1975, Jakonde established John West Publications and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria. Jakonde became governor of Lagos State in Nigeria from 1979 to 1983 and later became a minister of works under the Sani Abacha military regime between 1993 and 1998. He became a senior member of All Nigerian People's Party, ENPP, when the UNPP and APP merged. Jakonde was the first chairman of the Action Party of Nigeria, APN, when it was formed in November 2006. His fame and influence soared rapidly within the political atmosphere among captains of industries, and he was also courted by people that influenced the political scene in Nigeria, then as a suitable choice in politics. At the dawn of the Second Republic, he was encouraged to fully enter the political arena by his former employer and the late sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo. However, due to Chief Awolowo's overbearing influence on him, it was not surprising when he joined the Unity Party of Nigeria, UPN, to contest for election as the executive governor of Lagos State in 1979. He won the election and was therefore elected to be the first executive governor of Lagos State. His administration was effective and typified by widespread openness that made his government to be described till date as an all-inclusive government that has ever existed in Lagos State. Jakande has almost every major landmark achievement in Lagos State to his credit, with unrivaled records. He introduced housing and educational programs that targeted the poor, built new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and provided free primary and secondary education. Also among his numerous accomplishments that stand till date is the Lagos State University, a citadel that has become a fountain of knowledge that has produced stalwarts in different fields of human endeavors. Jakande's government constructed over 20,000 housing units that gave a number of Lagosians the opportunity to own their own houses. The schools and housing units were built cheaply, but were of great value. He also started a metro line project to facilitate mass transit within the Lagos metropolis. This project, if allowed by the military government that ousted his administration, would have made the perennial traffic gridlock that characterizes the state today non-existent. Destiny Momo for Plus TV Africa.
Thanks to Destiny Momo for that beautiful piece on Lateef Jakande. Moving on in the news, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has recorded 938 new infections of COVID-19 on Thursday. In a Twitter update via its verified handle, the government agency said there are now 143,516 confirmed cases of the disease caused by the novel coronavirus in Nigeria. It stated that a total of 118,012 people have so far been discharged from hospital, while the number of deaths so far is 1,710. As of Thursday, more than 107.6 million cases of COVID-19 had been reported worldwide, with more than 60.1 million of those cases listed as recovered or resolved in a tracking tool maintained by the Johns Hopkins University. And deaths from COVID-19 in Africa have surged by 40% in the last month, pushing Africa's death toll towards 100,000 since the first reported case on the continent on the 14th of February 2020. This comes as Africa battles new, more contagious variants and gears up for its largest ever vaccination drive.
In the first year of this pandemic in Africa, more than 3.7 million cases have been reported. And in the coming week, the continent is projected to pass a devastating marker of 100,000 lives sadly lost to this virus. Deaths from COVID-19 have increased by 40% in the last 28 days compared to the previous 28 days. The increasing deaths from COVID-19 are a tragic warning that health workers and health systems in many countries are dangerously overstretched. The one-year milestone comes as the continent faces the spread of new strains of virus. While a vaccine that protects against all forms of COVID-19 illness is our biggest hope, preventing severe cases and hospitalizations which overwhelm hospitals and health systems is crucial. Go out and get vaccinated when a vaccine becomes available in your country.
Still in the news, President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa has secured millions of doses of Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer vaccines to fight the highly infectious COVID-19 variant that is dominant in the country. During a televised annual State of the Nation address, Ramaphosa said South Africa had secured 9 million doses of the J&J vaccine, of which 500,000 will arrive over the next 4 weeks. He said another 20 million Pfizer doses were also on the way.
We have secured 12 million vaccines from the COVAX facility. This will be complementing other vaccines that are available to South Africa through the African Union's Acquisition Task Team facility that we set up. Pfizer has committed 20 million vaccine doses, commencing with deliveries at the end of the first quarter. We are continuing our engagement with all vaccine manufacturers to ensure that we secure sufficient quantities of vaccines that are suitable for our conditions in terms of the variant that we have here.
Still talking COVID-19, the United States President Joe Biden has criticized the coronavirus vaccination program he inherited from his predecessor, Donald Trump, and urged Americans to have patience as he fixes it. He said the U.S. government has signed contracts for 100 million doses of the Moderna vaccine and 100 million more from Pfizer. Biden said the United States would not have enough coronavirus vaccine doses by the end of the summer to vaccinate all Americans. Biden made that remark during a visit to the Viral Pathogenesis Laboratory at the NIH in the suburb of Washington.
2 weeks ago, I directed Jeff Science, who's here with me, my COVID-19 response coordinator, to work with the Department of Health and Human Services to purchase more vaccines. Just this afternoon, we signed the final contracts for 100 million more Moderna and 100 million more Pfizer vaccines. We're also able to move up the delivery dates with an additional 200 million vaccines to the end of July, faster than we expected. And in further good news, both companies agreed, and we're now contractually obligated to expedite delivery of 100 million doses that were promised by the end of June to deliver them by the end of May.
And now for news stories in other parts of Africa. Signatories to a shaky peace deal deemed vital for ending the conflict in Mali have met in the northern city of Kidal, a former rebel bastion. The city fell to Tuareg separatists in 2012, who captured much of the north of the Sahel state before jihadist groups commandeered their rebellion. Islamist fighters have since expanded the conflict into central Mali, as well as neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger, killing thousands. In a bid to curb the fighting, Mali, in 2015, signed an accord in Algiers with several rebel groups, a deal viewed as one of the country's few options to escaping the violence. The agreement, among other things, saw rebel militias start cooperating with the army and provides for decentralizing governance in the vast nation of 19 million people. Now, outside Africa, at least 130 vehicles have been involved in a massive and deadly morning car pileup along a stretch of highway in Fort Worth, Texas, leaving at least 6 people dead and many dozens more injured. Aerial images from the crash site, which a local official said stretched for about a half mile, showed multiple large trailer trucks piled on top of one another, with numerous vehicles crushed and wedged between them. Some 65 people were treated at area hospitals, and the death toll was at 6 on Thursday afternoon. But officials said that the numbers could change. Police said ice appeared to have been a factor, but the investigation was still very preliminary.
And there are a total of 65 people being treated at area hospitals for
from injuries related to this event today. We know that there's over 100 vehicles involved. Chief Noakes can speak a little bit more to that. And the Fort Worth Fire Department, after the initial scene stabilization, after all of the victims that were able to be found, all the cars that were able to be searched were searched, and they were marked in such a way to assure that we had gotten a look at all the cars that were possible to be seen. The scene was turned over to the Fort Worth Police Department in order for them to begin conducting their investigation and for this event to move to the next phase, which included the recovery of those victims that were not able to be removed or had expired at the scene.
Still outside Africa, Ecuadorian environmental presidential candidate Yaku Perez and his supporters have taken to the streets of Quito to call for a recount of votes in 7 provinces. Perez called on the United Nations and the Organization of American States to intervene against what he called electoral fraud. Perez, a lawyer and indigenous activist, won nearly 20% of the votes in last week's first-round presidential election on promises that he would call a referendum on prohibiting industrial mining in order to protect watersheds. The vote count now shows Perez trailing pro-market conservative banker Guillermo Lasso and thus less likely to advance to the runoff on April 11. National Electoral Council figures currently show Perez with 19.47% of the votes and 19.69% for Lasso. In business news, the Minister of State for Transportation, Senator Gbemisola Saraki, says that Nigeria ratifying its membership in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is an opportunity to leverage its advantageous geographical position. Saraki said this on Thursday during the virtual AFC-FTA Implementation Engagement Series on seafarers. The minister, who was represented by the director in the Federal Ministry of Transportation, Ibrahim Abdul Qadir, said that more needed to be done even with the vast geographical position. According to her, the ministry has embarked on some initiatives which will contribute towards the objectives of making Nigeria the transportation hub in Africa. And now on entertainment, one of Davido's aides, Israel Afere, has apologized for claiming that DJ Cuppy is a fake friend and never paid Zlatan a dime after they collaborated on the hit song Gelato. It had all started after DJ Cuppy took to Twitter to reveal that Zlatan had blocked her on all platforms 10 months after they released Gelato. Zlatan then reacted during an interview by claiming he doesn't know who Cuppy is, despite releasing a song with her. The public was ignorant of the cause of Zlatan's change in behavior until Israel took to his Instagram stories to claim Zlatan never made a dime from the collaboration. Now in sports news, Bayern Munich have won the FIFA Club World Cup, becoming the second club after Barcelona to win the sextuple after beating Mexican side Tigres UANL to the Royal Diadem at the Education City Stadium in Qatar. Pavard's close-range tap-in was enough to give the European champions Bayern their 6th title within the last 12 months. This is the 8th year in a row that the Champions League winners have gone on to win the Club World Cup, as Bayern follow in the footsteps of last year's champions Liverpool. Bayern are the second side to win all 6 available titles within a year after Barcelona managed the feat in 2009. And that's the news at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories. I am Osao Gie Ogbonwa. Thank you for watching.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria. We're
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
We do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
And 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome on the show. Now, the weekend is here and rest is near. It's Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. My name is Wale Scott. Welcome on the show. Now, I'm flying solo on the show today, so we have a fantastic package, bumper-packed, content-full package on the show today. But I'll start basically with the fact that Bayern Munich, well, lifted the FIFA Club World Cup yesterday. Now, Benjamin Pavard scored the only goal as Bayern Munich beat Tigres to win the FIFA Club